Time is coming. Either you prepare to rule, or you pray for her mercy.
I am to inherit the Iron Throne. She will block my way. She'll never bend the knee.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. They released a House of the Dragon Episode 6 and Beyond trailer already, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, I'm doing videos for all the episodes just like I did for Game of Thrones. Be sure to subscribe to get them all. We're also doing a giveaway for HBO Max subscriptions. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and post all your theories on what's happening in the footage down in the comments below. We'll just start at the beginning of the trailer and talk about the footage shot by shot going through. It starts with a new scene of Daemon and Caraxes flying to Dragonstone. Then we have a scene in the yard of the Red Keep, like this gated area here that you see a couple times on the show. And this is an older version of Aegon II practicing his sword fighting with what seems like his brother Aemon Targaryen, also known as Aemon One-Eye later in the trailer. He's this character here that everybody's confusing for Matt Smith with the eye patch. This isn't Matt Smith. This is meant to be a completely different actor playing an older version of Aemon One-Eye. He hasn't been born yet on the show. That's because all this footage is coming from like a much bigger time jump at the beginning of episode 6 and through the rest of the season. It seems like what's happening here is they're just practicing their sword fighting and Criston Cole or someone else is training them here. You could tell that it's them because they're wearing the green colors underneath their practice armor for the greens, like the other side in the Dance of the Dragons. Even though when you think of green in Game of Thrones, you think of the Tyrells, like the Tyrells wore a lot of greens, there was green in their banner. I believe this is from episode 5 where Alicent comes to Rhaenyra's wedding to Laenor Velaryon wearing the green gown, and that's like the beginning of her wearing the color green all the time. And the different sides in the Dance of the Dragons, which happens much later in the timeline, like the actual conflict happens much later in the timeline. But the different sides are referred to as the blacks and the greens, and the names are references to the colors of dresses that the two are known for wearing. And in these next couple of episodes, like we'll just see why it is that they wear those colors more often. The other funny detail here too is this is practice because Alicent considers Aegon II to be the true heir even though he's much younger here, like he hasn't taken the Iron Throne or anything like that at this point. If he were actually flying into battle on his dragon, and all of them get dragons, like there are a lot of kids obviously that are being born, there's all these questions about whether or not Rhaenyra is pregnant right now. Later in this trailer, like the trailer that we're talking about right now, you actually see her first two sons, Jacaerys and Lucerys, much older, with the older version of Emma D'Arcy playing Rhaenyra. I think she's still supposed to be in her 20s at this point. I believe episode 5 is the last episode that we'll see this season with the younger versions of the actresses, and Rhaenyra is still in her early 20s when this is happening. It seems like her sons are still very young, so not like that much time has gone by, like less than a decade. So that's why you have Aegon II being so much older here, but not like really old. And if he were actually flying into battle, he'd be wearing much more ornate armor suitable for a king. Kind of like Daemon's very expensive looking dragon scale designed armor. This is just another shot of one of the Targaryen designed ships. They actually explain the differences in some of the ships that they use around Westeros. So for example, the ship that you see Rhaenyra on, especially in the previous episodes, like the Targaryen designed ship, is more like a light cruiser, like a pleasure yacht that the crown just uses for ferrying the Targaryens around this part of the realm and back and forth between Dragonstone and Blackwater Bay. Like it's more of a short range pleasure yacht type of ship, as opposed to Corlys Velaryon ships, which are like heavy cruisers that he uses for a lot of his trade that are much more heavily armed, way more men on them. Designed for travel across the narrow sea, like much more dangerous waters. Then there's a shot of Otto Hightower telling the younger Alicent, this might still be from episode 5, as he departs the Red Keep because he's been fired recently by Viserys, that she needs to prepare Aegon II to rule or pray for Rhaenyra's mercy, like he's trying to strike the fear of the gods into her. And he's saying that if she doesn't do anything, that Rhaenyra is going to become queen, and reiterates that the king is also going to die. I know there's a lot of questions about what's going on with Viserys, what is he dying from, like what is the actual problem here? And is Otto Hightower or someone else complicit in it, like is somebody trying to speed his death? Because there were all those scenes of him being cut by the Iron Throne. That is a big piece of the lore from the books, the whole idea that the realm believes in this rumor that the Iron Throne will kill anyone who's not meant to sit on it, and that's why the people who sit on it who aren't meant to get cut. Technically that's a lie, because pretty much everybody that sits on it gets cut at some point. During the events of Game of Thrones, Cersei, for example, gets cut by it all the time. Even Robert Baratheon got cut by the Iron Throne a couple times. It is the most stabby looking throne that you've ever seen. It'd actually be hard to sit on it and not get cut by it, even if you were paying attention to something like that. The actor who plays Viserys, Paddy Considine, actually did an interview where he explained the truth about what's actually happening to Viserys, like why his health is declining so quickly, and you get a better shot of him much later in the timeline in the trailer here, where he looks way worse and he's wearing that golden mask to hide part of his face, because his ailment has started to affect part of his face, basically. And this might look familiar, some of you may have figured this out based on this particular shot. Paddy Considine, and this is canon, like he explained this, it's meant to be canon to the show, is supposed to be dying slowly from leprosy. That's what's affecting him. And during the events of the trailer here, like wherever this shot is happening, whichever episode, he's gotten so bad that it started to affect his face, his eyes, and he's just wearing this mask around because he started to look so bad. I know there's going to be all kinds of theories about the Maesters having something to do giving him leprosy. It's not particularly contagious, so even if he touches his children, the queen, other members of court, he wouldn't necessarily give it to them. So it's not like he's passing around leprosy around the court here. Now, I think what's actually going on in his head is he's trying to maneuver, like he's got this grand plan for putting Aegon II on the throne, and that's what he's thinking about. So he's kind of underhanded in that aspect, but he's not actively trying to make the king die faster. There's a brand new scene of Vhagar flying over a crowd of people, all massive, still waiting to see which episode she actually shows up in. Supposedly there was a deleted scene from a previous episode where her new dragon rider claims her, and she is a female dragon. No spoilers for that, like I've talked about it in previous episodes, they've heavily foreshadowed who the next person to ride Vhagar is going to be. We'll see them again in episode 5, so hopefully there'll be some more references to them riding Vhagar. Please don't spoil that in the comments if you know. But there's a reason why they kept mentioning Vhagar several times in previous episodes. Vhagar is just meant to be the biggest, oldest dragon at this point in the timeline, and the whole thing is the older the dragons get, the bigger they get. We'll meet Rhaenys' current dragon, Meleys, in episode 5. That'll be like the next brand new dragon that we see. Possibly Vhagar soon after that. This castle in the background could be a version of Harrenhal. The turrets look kind of run down and melted, which would be classic Harrenhal, but the scale doesn't seem quite right. Like Harrenhal is supposed to be massive, like huge. We saw it at the beginning of episode 1 in the flashback to the Great Council of 101 AC. Like this is meant to be Harrenhal. That's how big it is. This is the older version of Rhaenyra, played by Emma Darcy. Several years goes by, like I said, between episode 5 and episode 6. I believe she's still in her 20s. There's scenes of the older Otto Hightower. Looks the same, basically, like, even though he's meant to be several years older, he looks pretty much the exact same he did in previous episodes. It's the younger actors that physically change the most, obviously. But he's talking to the older Alicent now, played by Olivia Cook, spending most of her days wearing green ever since the wedding banquet in episode 5. This is Corlys Velaryon's throne room inside his castle in Driftmark. The castle is called High Tide, and it's filled with all these treasures and items from all of his voyages across the world. We'll see that again during episode 5. There's the voiceover from older Rhaenyra saying she's going to inherit the Iron Throne, and at this point it sounds like Viserys' health has declined so much that the topic of the succession has become a big thing, like they're all thinking that it could happen at any moment. As they focus on a shot of Viserys' crown, which is Jaehaerys' crown. Also on the show, we're probably going to see Aegon the Conqueror's crown too, which is like a completely separate crown. I'm not sure that Viserys' crown is made of Valyrian steel. It might be, but I know that Aegon the Conqueror's crown, which is much smaller looking, is actually made of Valyrian steel. Then there's another scene in the same gate of the Red Keep of the Yard here where Harwin Strong starts a fight with Criston Cole. Neither one of them are wearing their armor, so somebody may have insulted someone else, like Criston Cole may have insulted Harwin Strong. This scene of the horse is actually Daemon grabbing Rhea Royce's horse as it bucks up at Runestone in the Vale. That's actually from episode 5 as far as I know. This is what Rhea Royce actually looks like. The funny thing is that Daemon was talking to Rhaenyra about her, calling her the bronze bitch, as if she was this very unattractive person that he wanted nothing to do with, but she actually looks pretty good looking, like she's actually pretty hot. I think that's just meant to get across the idea that Daemon's kind of a dirtbag. Like, I think the joke is that she's actually fairly pleasant, she's very good looking, just like a totally normal person that anybody would be happy to be married to, except for Daemon. Then there's a scene of someone in what seems like a fire happening in this castle, whichever one this is happening in the bedchamber. The footage is a little too blurry to see who it actually is. It just seems like there's a fire in the background at the window here. Then there's a scene of older Rhaenyra and older Daemon on Dragonstone talking about the Dance of the Dragons and Alicent. She's saying she's going to block her way, so it's more of the actual dance beginning, like still part of the prelude, her kind of formulating her actual plan. This scene is of Daemon entering the Iron Throne room in what seems like the wedding from episode 5, like he's wearing the same outfit that he has on during the wedding banquet in episode 5. And it just seems like all the other members of court here are shocked, and he's kind of swaggering in like, oh yeah, you thought I got banished, but I'm totally back. Again. Then this battle footage actually seems like it's old battle footage from Corlys Velaryon's men attacking Crab Feeder's army, the Triarchy, at the Stepstones back in episode 3, not a new battle. And this last scene of older Alicent Hightower is her sitting in the small council room meeting with her version of the small council, which is called the Green Council. Rhaenyra has her own one called the Black Council for the Blacks, like the other side in the dance. During the actual Dance of the Dragons, Rhaenyra is also referred to by the realm as the Black Queen. That's one of her nicknames. So it's the Blacks versus the Greens, the Black Council versus the Green Council, the Black Queen versus Aegon II. Alicent isn't trying to put herself on the Iron Throne, she's trying to put her son, Aegon II. So technically when you're talking about heirs battling with each other, it's actually Aegon II versus Rhaenyra, but really is Alicent fighting on Aegon II's behalf. But if you spotted any other Easter eggs in the trailer footage that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments. Like I said, some of this might be from beyond Episode 6. It could be like Episode 7, Episode 8. My full Episode 5 video will post Sunday after they release it, and then they'll probably release like another dedicated Episode 6 trailer with footage just from Episode 6. So I'll do a new video for that too when they release it. Make sure you enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that stuff. Everyone click here for my new House of the Dragon deleted scenes video from the first half of the season. There's a whole bunch of deleted scenes. And everyone click here for my full House of the Dragon episode videos. I'll update the link with Episode 5 as soon as I post that. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.